Welcome back to the day. Today we will learn about the issue of Xander and Sarah's fragile reunion, why a vow renewal could implode spectacularly, and how Phillip's shifting truth threatens to blow up everything they're rebuilding. The uneasy reunion. Xander Kyriakis and Sarah Horton have inched back toward reconciliation, but the foundation is still compromised by secrets, guilt, and a narrative that doesn't match the facts of Phillip's attack night. Sarah now feels deep remorse for misjudging Xander, clinging to the hope that therapy and co-parenting can restore their home life, even as the past keeps bleeding into their future. Meanwhile, Xander is torn between relief at Sarah's forgiveness and the dread that the true events surrounding Phillip will detonate at the worst possible moment. Marlena's role and anger therapy. Marlena Evans' anger management counseling has become the emotional triage for Xander, targeting triggers and the history of abandonment that fuel his volatility. The promise is clear: if Xander sticks with therapy and demonstrates consistent change, he could stabilize his family and potentially secure a more balanced custody arrangement for Victoria. Yet therapy only works beside truth. Without confession, progress risks becoming a mask that shatters the instant the Phillip secret surfaces. Phillip's shifting story. The paradox at the center of this saga is Phillip himself, whose recovery and wavering version of events keep the tension simmering in Salem. Recaps and spoiler chatter indicate Phillip's relationship with Xander is fragile and opportunistic. He may protect his brother when it suits him, or expose him if leverage shifts or guilt becomes unbearable. That volatility means any peace Xander builds with Sarah is only as durable as Phillip's current incentive to stay quiet. The vow renewal trap. A small, intimate vow renewal is on the table, a symbolic reset that tempts both Sarah and Xander with the illusion of closure and a clean slate. But that ceremony could become a pressure cooker, exactly the place where a confession, an eavesdropper, or a last-minute reversal from Phillip upends the romance with public humiliation and private devastation. A botched renewal would not just bruise pride, it would redefine trust, parenting dynamics, and how the Kyriakis clan navigates loyalty versus truth in the aftermath. Why Sarah's forgiveness is fragile. Sarah's current stance mixes contrition with selective belief. She accepts that she misread Xander, yet she's relying on a version of events that isn't anchored to what actually happened. This creates cognitive dissonance. The more she invests in the revised story, the more catastrophic the fallout becomes if she discovers that her reconciliation rested on a lie. Forgiveness rooted in falsehood can't last. Once exposed, it often rebounds into sharper anger than before, threatening divorce talk even after a high-profile recommitment. Xander's dilemma and guilt spiral. Xander wants the life he glimpses with Sarah: domestic calm, stability for Victoria, and a chance to be the man Marlena believes he can be. But guilt can corrode renewal vows from the inside. A single hesitated answer, a stray glance at Phillip, or Marlena's probing question could become the thread that unravels the whole story in front of witnesses. The longer he waits, the harsher the judgment will be when truth finally surfaces. Secrecy and timing are now Xander's greatest enemies. Phillip's leverage and legal shadows. Beyond family drama, legal and corporate stakes complicate motives. Forged instruments tied to Titan, questions of assault severity, and implications that could invite further charges if the sequence of events is fully aired. Phillip's prior maneuvering and the Kyriakis' power web create a scenario where exposing Xander could also splash back on Phillip, making silence a bargaining chip more than a moral decision. Any shift, personal guilt, strategic pressure, or a third-party snoop, can collapse that balance overnight. The eavesdropper wild card. In Salem, secrets rarely stay private, and spoilers repeatedly hint at overheard confessions and inconvenient witnesses altering destinies mid-ceremony. A scheming party guest, a hot mic, or a hallway confrontation could turn a tender promise into a courtroom-grade revelation. If that happens, Sarah faces not just a broken vow, but a public record of deception that complicates custody, community standing, and her own capacity to forgive again. Counseling breakthroughs versus confession. Therapy can architect a new Xander, but it cannot retrofit an old lie into integrity. so the crucial question is whether he admits the truth before circumstances force it out. A proactive confession under Marlena's guidance could redirect the narrative from scandal toward accountability, offering Sarah a hard but honest path to rebuild. If he waits until proof corners him, every caring gesture looks retroactively manipulative, and the chance at redemption shrinks. The Brotherhood fault line. Xander and Phillip's bond is brittle, part rivalry, part longing for a family identity that never fit either comfortably. Leaks and recaps suggest temporary cooperation, even moments where Phillip seems to aid Xander's bid to win Sarah back, but those truces are transactional and temporary. In the Kiriaki's universe, debt always comes due, and today's ally can be tomorrow's witness if the ledger changes by a single revelation. Possible endgames. Vow renewal detonation. A ceremony becomes the scene of an exposed lie, ending with Sarah walking out, and Xander pushed back into therapy as a condition for any future reconciliation. Confession before the vows. Xander admits the truth, Sarah postpones the renewal, and Marlena mediates a structured path forward that emphasizes transparency over grand gestures. Phillip flips under pressure. Phillip's conscience or leverage shifts, he comes clean, and the fallout reshapes both brothers' status at Titan and in Sarah's life, with trust redistributed and alliances redrawn. Why this story matters now. The current arc isn't simply about who threw the first punch, it's about whether love can survive when its second chance is built on a borrowed narrative. DOOL's recent beats emphasize consequences, counseling, and the fragile economics of truth in families that prize legacy over vulnerability. Xander and Sarah may move ahead with a vow renewal, but all signs point to a dramatic reversal that tests whether either can love the other once everything is finally said out loud. Days of Our Lives spoilers say the next chapter in Xander and Sarah's relationship could take a serious hit, so keep watch for when truth, guilt, and a single ill-timed revelation collide with their plans to start over. Next, we will learn about the issue that has Johnny and Chanel tangled up in both business ambition and personal fears, as they set their sights firmly on Tesoro while facing storms on multiple fronts. For longtime fans of Days of Our Lives, every twist in Salem carries a mixture of family loyalty, corporate maneuvering, and deeply personal stakes. The latest storyline involving Johnny DiMera and Chanel Dupree is no exception, as the young couple navigates both career challenges and their dream of adoption. What seems, at first glance, like just another business pursuit is in fact layered with anxieties, aspirations, and the kind of dramatic tension that only Salem can deliver. Johnny's worries begin to surface. At the center of the story is Johnny's frustration about being unable to attend the much-hyped One Stormy Night press conference. This event, originally expected to highlight Titan's bright future, was hijacked by none other than Tony DiMera, whose flair for dramatic takeovers is well known in Salem. For Johnny, missing this conference is not simply about losing a chance to shine, it's about being sidelined in a company where visibility often means survival. Johnny confides in Chanel, admitting that he feels his career could be jeopardized if this merger doesn't go through smoothly. His anxiety escalates when he begins to envision the possibility of being fired, and in true Salem fashion, that fear spirals quickly into worries about his entire future. If he loses his position, what then? The DiMera Trust Fund may offer financial safety, but Johnny is determined not to live under that cushion. He wants to prove himself as a man who can stand on his own, not just as a son and grandson of legacy families. Chanel steps into the voice of reason. Chanel, always the steadying force in their relationship, tries to soothe his nerves. She reassures him that Titan has far bigger concerns than whether Johnny attends one press event. After all, in the grand scheme of mergers, buyouts, and high-level decisions, one young executive's presence or absence might not carry the weight Johnny imagines. Yet, Chanel does more than simply reassure, she reminds Johnny of the qualities that make him unique. She emphasizes his passion and the sincerity he brings to his work, qualities that are far rarer than corporate maneuvering or financial power. In her eyes, Johnny isn't just another DiMera trying to prove his worth, he is a man with vision, with creativity, and with the kind of emotional intelligence that can set him apart in business. Still, Chanel cannot completely erase his fears. Johnny's anxiety extends into their shared dream of starting a family. Adoption, already a delicate process, can be influenced by perceptions of financial stability and long-term security. Johnny worries that losing his job could affect their chances, and the weight of that possibility sits heavily on his shoulders. Family wealth versus personal ambition. The subject of wealth is never far from conversations in Salem, particularly when families like the DeMoras and the Price Duprees are involved. Chanel teases Johnny lightly, reminding him that between her mother Paulina's vast fortune and his DeMera background, they will not be left destitute. From the outside, that's true, both families possess the kind of wealth that ensures security. But for Johnny, it isn't about survival, it's about dignity. He doesn't want to be the kind of man who relies on a safety net provided by others. He wants to build his own career, his own reputation, and his own independence. This desire is not only personal pride but also tied to how he wants to present himself as a future father. Johnny wants their child to grow up knowing that their parents worked hard, stood firm, and earned their own success. This quiet struggle between inherited wealth and self-earned accomplishment adds an extra layer of tension to their journey toward Tesoro, the new dream they are chasing together. A bad omen in the world of soap operas. When Johnny and Chanel finally step back and reassure each other that they are confident about Tesoro, viewers know this might be too neat, too optimistic. In the universe of Days of Our Lives, declarations of confidence often signal impending challenges. Soap operas thrive on irony, and when characters believe everything will fall into place, it's usually the exact moment the rug is pulled from under them. This sense of foreboding hangs in the air. The couple may have love, determination, and a shared dream, but Salem has a way of testing even the strongest bonds. Whether through corporate betrayal, family interference, or the return of an unexpected rival, their journey is unlikely to remain smooth. New encounters on familiar ground. After their heart-to-heart conversation, Johnny chooses to seek comfort and perspective from his grandfather Roman Brady. Roman, known for his grounded wisdom and straightforward advice, is exactly the person Johnny needs to talk to. A coffee at the Brady pub is never just a simple meeting, it's an exchange of history, guidance, and reassurance from one generation to another. Roman has seen enough storms in his lifetime to remind Johnny that careers can shift, fortunes can change, but integrity and resilience are what matter most. Meanwhile, Chanel prepares for her own important meeting with her mother, Paulina Price. Paulina has never been shy about sharing her opinions, and she brings with her both financial influence and strong protective instincts for her daughter. Chanel knows she will need to balance her independence with Paulina's input, and every meeting between them carries the potential for both support and confrontation. This split-screen moment, Johnny with Roman, Chanel with Paulina, highlights the couple's dual ties to powerful families. They are walking a path of independence, but their roots pull them constantly back to the legacies they carry. The heart of the story, love and legacy. At its core, the storyline is not just about Tesoro, or Titan, or even the looming merger. It's about the intersection of love, ambition, and legacy. Johnny and Chanel are trying to carve out a life together that feels authentic, one that honors their love while still respecting the family histories they can never escape. For Johnny, it's about proving that he is more than a trust fund heir, more than a DeMera name. For Chanel, it's about standing beside the man she loves while balancing the expectations of a mother whose fortune and influence can never be ignored. Together, they dream of Tesoro, not only as a business pursuit but as a symbol of their ability to create something new, something distinctly theirs. What comes next in Salem? The question that lingers is not whether Johnny and Chanel will continue fighting for Tesoro, but what obstacles will rise in their way. Will Tony's interference in the press conference have greater ripple effects than they imagine? Will Paulina support Chanel's vision, or will she try to steer her daughter onto a path that better suits her own plans? And most importantly, will Johnny's fear of failure become a self-fulfilling prophecy? Fans know that nothing in Salem remains simple for long. The road to Tesoro is likely to be filled with betrayals, revelations, and tests of loyalty. Yet, amid the uncertainty, the bond between Johnny and Chanel remains a beacon of hope, a reminder that in a town filled with shifting alliances and endless drama, love still has the power to endure. In Salem, victories are rarely straightforward, and dreams are never free of obstacles. For Johnny and Chanel, Tesoro is more than just a goal, it is a test of their love, their resilience, and their ability to stand tall against the storms of both business and family. And as every longtime viewer knows, the real drama is only just beginning.